Billy, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Okay.
We know last time you guys were out here, Zach and Lonzo were able to sit with you guys and be with the team. Are they both planning to be here today?
They both plan on being here. Yep.
And what's kind of the latest on? We know Zach's situation. I mean, he's had surgery. He's out
Yep.
next season. What's kind of the latest with Lonzo, if anything?
He's starting to run. I know we talked about last time. Some of the workouts have been, I think really, really positive in terms of, running, cutting, jumping, doing those things. So he's progressed into that. Responded well. Some of the things that I now, not with my own eyes, but some of the things that medical guys have shown me is that he looks good moving. So just really, really happy for him personally for his progress. Of where he's at, and he's I think worked hard to put himself in this position, and hopefully he can just continue to progress like he's progressing.
To be clear, so the running is sprinting if he's cutting?
Yeah, he's cutting and running and doing some of that stuff now. Obviously, it's all controlled. There's no contact in those things, but he is doing running and things like that. Yes.
Does it feel like he's on kind of the progression timeline that you guys wanted him to be on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that with it being the beginning of March and him where he's at right now, and then having really the rest of the spring and all of the summer, there's a lot of time for where he's at right now to get himself back, hopefully, where he gets cleared to play 5-on-5 in contact. I think that's going to be the biggest thing is whenever he gets to that place. I always, even when guys are out for a period of time during the season, they're coming back. The hard part is always, can you find times for them they can play and kind of get back into a rhythm? So I don't know when that point in time would be, but I think he'd be, very, very anxious to be able to do some of that for his own, growth and development from where he's been out the last couple of years. But he's worked hard to put himself in this position, and everything that we've gotten back's been pretty positive.
Billy, has there been a discussion, or have you guys, or have you yourself even just thought about, say if everything goes as planned, everything's on schedule, and he's ready to...
With Zoe? With Lonzo? Yeah.
Lonzo.
Mm-hmm.
And he's ready to start the year with you guys, what that would actually look like with all that time off, the last year of his contract, minutes, how restricted it would be. I mean, has that been talked about of hey, because this is, no one's ever come back from this, or no one's really even done this before, this is what it's going to look like? I mean, has that been discussed?
No, we have not talked about that. I think everything has been, his rehab and recovery and getting him back to where he can play again. And, you're right. This is something that's been unprecedented, that's been done. And he's kind of been able to pass every hurdle so far. And that was what I was saying to Julia earlier, is that we'll see when he gets back into playing 5-on-5. I think there's certainly enough time from the beginning of March when you talk about, whether it's the end of September, beginning of October, with the start of training camp, that there'll be a pretty extensive period of time to see how he responds to all that. But I don't know when him being cleared to actually do that is. But to your point, I don't think that we've really discussed, hey, training camp next year, he's back, he's in the fold, he's in the house. We haven't done any of that yet. I think it's been more to try to give him every opportunity. And he's really the one that's done all the work into this to put himself in a position. It's just that everybody wants to see him get back to being able to play.
And is there a time frame or a window where you guys are like, okay, this is the spot where he probably needs to start doing some kind of basketball activity, whether it's scrimmage with full contact, or, I mean, what does that look like?
They haven't talked to me about a timetable. I just know for him, and again, this is just my own personal opinion, just being around players and stuff. For him to be out as long as he's been out, there has to be some kind of period of time where he can play some 5-on-5 contact basketball. I think he is going to want that. He's going to need that, and that's going to be part of it. I just don't know, okay, when does that actually happen, and how much time does he need once that happens to see how he responds? 'Cause that's going to be the biggest thing, right, is how he responds. Because he's had 2.5 years of no contact, and you feel bad about that. So maybe there's situations and I don't even know if they necessarily want him doing that medically. I'm speaking more from just my perspective, not even medically, that he's going to need for his own well-being and getting accustomed to banging and hitting and defending and getting over screens and contact to the rim and getting off all that stuff. He's gonna need to be able to do that at some point.
And there's no I mean, it isn't like you guys are going to be like, yeah, go get your work in the Drew League, bro, and we'll see how
Yeah,
it goes.
no. I
you
think
guys are going to want.
we're going to have to
control
help
of
him.
it.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know if it's about us having control of it, but certainly, how can we formulate a plan or help him formulate a plan when he is at that place where he can play, whether it's out here in LA, where just as long as he feels like he's getting the contact
Gotcha.
and listen, some of it may just be 1-on-1, it may be 2-on-2. It could be very controlled situation, but I think there'll at least at some point when he gets there be some kind of conversation about what the next step is contact wise for him.
Billy, one question. Go ahead. Joe.
Just no one's satisfied to be 500, but in this case, with the Bulls being 9 under at one stage, what would it mean to win today to get to 500 at this point, considering everything that's transpired?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always want to listen. Everybody's in this league's competitive and wants to win. I said this before. Yeah, it'd be great to get to 500. I don't want to diminish that, but also at the same point too. With what's left in the season, you want to be playing good basketball too. And this has been a hard road trip. We've played against good teams. These guys are terrific. We come off of this game and we go right back into Dallas, right back on the road to Indiana. So, as much of it with the record part of it, we Chuck, we just really dug ourselves a hole early in the year. We just did the first 20, 22 games, and we've been fighting out of it since. And these guys have done a good job kind of fighting back out of it. But, some of the record has to do with when you play 60-plus games, your record is going to be what it is. So I don't want our guys' mentality to be, hey, let's just get back to 500. This is going to be great. That's not really what I think we want to do. It's about, can we compete and play against the elite teams in this league? And certainly tonight's one of those. So I think these games are always measuring sticks of where you have to get better and improve.
Bill, you always talk about how small a margin of error you guys have to compete to win. Do you feel like right now, earlier this season you talked about being connected, all 5 guys, both offensively and defensively, and you felt like you're making progress. Do you think this stretch has shown growth in that area of connectivity, at both ends?
They would probably be the best guys to talk to, those guys, but I feel that way. I think they've made a strong investment into one another. I think the communication's been very good. You guys have brought up, just even the dialogue with the players of making mention of Kobe's voice, Isle's voice. DeMar's always been a leader, Vooch. I really feel like the group's trying to help each other. And I do think, like some of the stuff, even with some of the frustration stuff, I think it's some of our emotions being channeled the wrong way. It's just a deep will to collectively for these guys to want to do well, play well, and to put themselves in position to win. But it's got to be channeled better. But I do think that they have invested a lot in one another, and they've all tried to help one another, which I really respect. So I feel like from the connection part of our team and the togetherness of our team, it's been good. It's been really good.
Billy, there have been some high-profile interactions between fans and players this year. I'm wondering what you think is inbounds for fans to say to players during a game that players just kind of have to take.
Yeah, you hear all sorts of stuff. I just think sometimes when it gets personal, it crosses the line into, family, personal things. I don't know what the answer is for that, because sometimes those things just, I think you have to have just a better, to me, awareness of that. You want to yell, hey, Mr. Free Throw, you're no good. That's fine if it's basketball stuff. But I think when sometimes it crosses into the personal side, that's not good. But, I also think at least the players have an avenue security-wise if there is something that's crossed the line that they can get those guys, involved. And, it's unfortunate. But I think that you would hope that people would be just respectful, to cheer who they're cheering for and not necessarily need to bring somebody else down or get personal with somebody else. But, if it happens, I think it's unfortunate. It's probably something that's in place there. You hope security would jump in and say, listen, that's just not going to be tolerated.
What's the worst thing someone yelled at you as a player?
As a player? Well, the only thing I probably was a little bit, deaf, but I do know that every time I got to go into the game when I was at Providence, my freshman and sophomore year, they booed me. That I do know. That happened. So I'm sure that after being booed like that, it probably was a lot of other things said that the booing drowned it out.
Was that a home game?
Yeah, the home fans
Home fans.
booed you.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah. They didn't like my game. They didn't want to see me going into the game. Why are you putting this guy in? Get these other guys in. He can't play. I mean, it was more that, yeah. There was a lot of, whoa, boo, yeah. It was like in Florida all the time, at the quarterback situation, it would be really, really interesting. They'd always want like the new
freshman.
Yeah, exactly, to kind of come in, and then when he would go in, they'd go crazy
Well,
when
the
they
whole
took
Tebow thing with,
but when they take him out, they'd all start booing, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know if it was necessarily anything that I could hear, but that was pretty bad, 15,000 booing you when you kind of get off the court at 18 years old to come into the game. I guess they don't want me playing out here tonight.
So from afar, granted you've seen him from afar, but any part of Russ's energy that he continues to bring to a game surprise you?
No, I mean, I have just incredible respect and admiration for the way he comes every single day and plays and competes. That's who he is. That's what he believes in. That's what he's built his career on. And he is going to stay true to who he is, as best he can. And I have great admiration. I always said this when I was with him in Oklahoma City. The one thing that was always great is I never had to look in the locker room and wonder if that guy was ever ready to play. Like every time the game started, he was shot out of a cannon.
And can you look at DeMar?
Last one.
He's been doing, coming up big in clutch situations for teams for years, but having coached against him and now have him on your side, what have you noticed about his ability to get to a spot and not really be denied in those situations? He really just goes and gets it every time.
In terms of like him getting the ball?
Well, getting the ball, getting to his spots, hitting those shots for every team he's been on for over a decade.
Yeah, he's just got a real good understanding of space. He's got great feet, to begin with. And I think that the other thing, too, that makes him really good, and I think players that play in that area of the floor, you have to like contact. And he plays off contact a lot. He can generate it. He can kind of get off of it. Obviously, he's great pump faking. He can get to the free throw line. But he plays really, really well in tight spaces because I think he's got great feet and great footwork, which he works on all the time. And then I think the physicality of the size of him is he can play off he doesn't get overwhelmed with physicality. He kind of can play off of it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, Billy. Appreciate it.
All right.